I think in typical kind of war movies, there's sort of the journey and then the victory at the end. And you know, this movie isn't like this. I feel like that, you know, this is a very, very narrow, honest look at this one tank unit's life.
It's really about a family under incredible stress and people who are at their best and at their worst, often simultaneously, as they try and just survive another hour, another day in combat.
My job as a director is to give the actors as much fuel, information, and point of reference as I possibly can. There was this long process of training.
Dave is ferocious about authenticity and set us up with some beautiful, beautiful experiences. And one of them was getting to meet several vets who were all in their 90s and had survived D-Day landings and Battle of the Bulge.
They had a closed-door session, and the doors are shut and locked, and I don't know what was discussed, but what I heard of it was that these veterans told, you know, my cast things that they had never even told their own families.
Part of the pre-production was saturating the cast with vets from all different eras, but none more important than the 2nd Armored Division vets.
We were really fortunate to meet with some really generous people that were open in sharing their stories, which were probably a lot of tough stories to tell, and we all gained a lot from those conversations.
They wanted to get the idea of how it felt while we were in the service and what life was like within the tank crew.
When World War II started, for most of us as kids, we were only about 20 years removed from World War I. You know, we never gave World War I a thought, never. But, you know, here we are all these years after World War II, and people are still interested in it.
Well, Don Evans was a big one for me because Don Evans is a Christian man, righteous man, who will tell you the difference between killing and murder. And there's a big difference, and I think Don drove that home, you know?
They're very visceral descriptions of what it was like being in a tank, the heat, the exhaust. It was oily, the smell of death, it's always in the air.
The things that I was looking at downstairs in that tank, I was 1 foot off the ground, and I saw what was coming in and landing right in front of me, and sometimes putting a hole in the ground right in front of us.
One of the forgotten sort of time periods of the war is the last gasp of the Nazi Empire. And you have an American army that has been fighting for years and is on its last sort of manpower reserves. We're very beaten up. It's a bit of a ragtag army by that point. The men are exhausted.
Most of them were, you know, were undertrained, they were under-equipped, they were dealing with incredible hardships and weather, lack of calories and food, and lack of sleep, and they had to push on under the most harrowing of conditions.
The stories that they were saying, like, they were very candid with us. We're like, wow, I can't believe, you know, a person is capable of doing that. But he says, you know, in war, there's, you become an animal. You know, there's times where you become an animal and then you right back normal. You know, you'd be amazed what a man's capable of.
They even wrote in his newspapers, August 1944, that the 2nd Armored Division was called Roosevelt's Butchers, and that's what the Germans called us. It was dirty, and the way it is, you got to realize that we did all kinds of things to win the war, and that's why you're still here.
Combat's a dirty business. It's a brutal, brutal, dirty business. It's soul-crushing. And to become an effective soldier, everything you learned growing up sort of goes out the window. Yet, at the same time, paradoxically, you know, you can't lose who you are. You can still be a decent person. You can still be a good person.
They had to go through a bunch of really hard shit, and they love the hell out of each other. They wouldn't necessarily choose to love the hell out of each other, but the circumstances made them so. And, you know, that's really what we took from them. You know, when those guys would talk to each other, they're always touching each other. You know, they're always touching each other. And something about that, man. It's very much a family inside this tank.
They need to look bonded. It needs to be portrayed on screen. You'll pick up on it if it isn't, because you are quite intimate as a crew, as in what you know about each other. You look after each other. There's very much a brotherhood within a tank.
You know, there's very few of the vets walking amongst us these days. You know, some of them are in their mid-90s. And this is the last chance to really use them to tell these stories and tell them right.
Well, my company, there's 4 of us left that goes to the annual reunions. So we're getting gone. This needs to be told. And these actors seem to be just the ones to do it.
It was a very humbling experience to sit in their presence and listen to their stories and have them share with us.
Everything culminated in boot camp, which was run by Navy SEALs.
Boot camp was getting 5 civilian actors to start thinking like military men. For me, my personal goal was to ensure that they looked like there were 5 people moving in the same direction.
I mean, we're tourists. We're just tourists in it. But we're doing the full-on up at 5 in the morning, 2 hours of PTs, schooling, grunt work, obstacles, and until late in the evening. And we're eating cold rations, and we're sleeping out in the rain, and we have to stay up and do point guard. And, you know, someone's got on the hour, we got to swim. I mean, we're, again, full immersion.
It was an amazing bonding experience for the Fury team, and it was tough. It was really tough, really hard. We didn't sleep, working all day, and being picked apart and yelled at, and all this crazy shit that we had to do.
You tear down the individual and you build a team up, and there was no punches pulled.
I don't know, for some reason, nothing puts you together like, you know, you're only as strong as your weakest link, and like even carrying a log, you're rooting for everyone. And then it becomes that thing where it looks like you're screaming at the person, you know, like in hatred, but really it's you want to see them work together.
We went to camp, we got to know each other, you know, it's 5 days in the woods, you know, you get to know a little bit more about each other, and you become more of a unit. But we're still individuals, you know, we're still individuals. We're all part of something we know, bigger than us.
You know, you got Brad Pitt, and the fact that me and him can just bullshit, and it's like, that's from boot camp, that's from fighting, you know, and that we can be completely comfortable with each other. You know, and now I'd do anything for him. He's like a brother to me, so it's like, how fucking cool is that? That doesn't happen from just being on a film set, you know?
Very shortly after we started, within a day, 2, they were asking us questions. They were asking more than what we were feeding them.
I think that they went further to sort of show them that, hey, we can go as hard as you want us to go. And that really surprised us as we continued to push, and they took it, and then they rose to the occasion.
We all became really tight from that. And it was just a week. You know, I'm a grown-ass man, you know what I mean? And it was a tough thing.
I love these guys now. We all became very bonded under adversity, even though our adversity is, you know, just a hint of what the real soldiers encountered. And we really learned where each other's strengths were and how to rely on that and cover for the others. And, you know, by the end of it, you had 5 guys running a tank, 5 actors.
By the time they graduated, it was a different cast. These guys were so bonded. They were so connected. They were finishing each other's sentences. And honestly, I was jealous because you could really see they were a family now. They're brothers now. And that energy and that chemistry is what you see on the screen, which is why those guys feel so believable as a combat unit with a history together.
You saw them function together, start to think as a unit, start to care about one another. And that's something you don't see on movie sets. You see a lot of individual actors looking out for their role, their career, and their individual effort.
If Shia wins and has a great moment, and Bernthal has a great moment, and Logan has a great moment, and Bratton and anybody else in the movie, then I win. You know what I mean? Because I'm in a better movie.
We're not pussyfooting here. It's not fake. We feel it. I mean, we try to get as close to it as we can. All the guys in that room that we met, basically, you know, that's how they threw it to us. It's got to be that.
I walked away with such a great understanding of the sacrifice that not just soldiers, but the families of soldiers made.
You know, we're making a movie. We didn't go to war, but I feel real love for the guys in the Fury. You know, I really do feel like we've touched upon a little bit of that brotherhood, and you know, I'll love them forever, and they'll always be a part of my life now. You know, my life, John's life, and you know, that's something. What a thrill! What a wonderful gift that is. You know, and if any of that pops out on screen, then we're fucking real lucky.